This is a WNCN breaking news report.
Good afternoon, I'm Sean Maroney. Right now we have 3 people killed this Monday morning in downtown Raleigh when a scaffolding collapsed. We have a live presser with officials on the scene. We want to take you there now.
Requisite investigative follow-up, and we should have something very shortly, but at this point it does not appear that this is anything other than a terrible accident.
Mr. Boyette, Steve Sprazier from Channel 17. We taking this live right now. Let's get your first of all, let's get your full name.
John Boyette, Interim Director, City of Raleigh Public Affairs.
Very good. Tell us what you know at this point, Mr. Boyette.
All we know right now is we had 3 dead in a terrible scaffolding incident. It's under investigation, as the officers have said, and right now that's all we know at this point.
Approximately what time of day did this happen, sir?
I believe they got the call at 10:58 a.m.
And do you know what the construction workers were doing at that point?
No, I do not.
Right. At this point, we do know that they fell to the ground. How dangerous a situation was it initially?
I can't say at this point right now.
What agencies were involved in the investigation, Mr. Boyette?
We had
Be extremely respectful of the families, so that they are
talking to one of the City of Raleigh Public Affairs, Interim Public Affairs Director, who's trying to give us additional information as to who's investigating.
City County Bureau of Investigation, OSHA, the Labor Department, Wake EMS, as well as the Raleigh Police Department and Raleigh Fire Department.
Is there anything else you can tell us about the accident?
That's all we can say right now. Thank you.
Obviously, what you're seeing right now is a rather hastily arranged briefing by the City of Raleigh Public Affairs officer who provided very little information about the scaffolding collapse here at the Charter Building that's just across the street over here, as well as Jeff Hammerstein from Wake County EMS giving us a very brief amount of information about their role in all this happened here. Just to recap, if you're just joining us, we had 3 construction workers perish shortly after 11 o'clock this morning in this building over here. It's once again behind the tree line. What was happening was they were working on a scaffolding. According to some, they may have actually been trying to take a part of that bracing of the scaffolding down when the scaffolding let go on the building. And we were told by some construction workers here at the scene that several of their colleagues plunged 7 stories to the ground below. That has not been confirmed by the City of Raleigh Public Affairs officials or any of the other folks right now who are involved in this. We also, when we looked with our own visual observation, you could see where the scaffolding rigging was broken off at about maybe 5 stories up. There was also a hole in the side of the building where one of the braces, it would appear from that scaffolding, came loose from the building. You can see that because there was an identical scaffolding right next to it, and that bracing still exists right there. But again, 3 construction workers hurt. The latest information right now is that 1 construction worker was injured as a result of the accident that happened here. In addition, we have seen North Carolina Department of Labor investigators arrive here on scene. We have witnessed CCBI investigators here, as well as folks from Associated Scaffolding who are here at this construction site, apparently the subcontractor which ran the scaffolding, and several other investigatory agencies, all trying to figure out exactly what happened. Reporting live from downtown Raleigh, I'm Steve Sprazier, WNCN News.
All right, Steve Sprazier live on the scene since this accident happened shortly after 11 o'clock this morning. Just to recap again, 3 construction workers dead after a scaffolding appeared to have fallen at the Charter Square project in downtown Raleigh. Our Emma Wright has been investigating the companies involved in this since it happened. Emma joins us now with more information on the general contractor, Choate Construction. Emma.
Sean, we've learned that the scaffolding collapse happened on a building being built by Choate Construction. They are the general contractor for this project. Choate is a very large construction company. They're building all over the Southeast, and for what we found, they do have a fairly good record. According to their website, Choate Construction employs about 300 people. They have offices all over the Southeast: Raleigh, Atlanta, Charleston, Savannah, and Charlotte. WNCN has found that the company, Choate Construction, was cited by OSHA back in 2008. That's when OSHA says an employee was crushed and killed during a parking garage collapse that happened in Jacksonville, Florida. According to OSHA records, in 2008, Choate Construction was building a 5-story parking garage in downtown Jacksonville, Florida, when the garage collapsed. When workers were pouring concrete, 1 person was killed, 21 others injured. OSHA says Choate Construction received serious violations because of the accident and was fined almost $50,000. WNCN has also learned that they received received a more recent violation by OSHA. That last year, according to records, the company violated city code by not having a fire extinguisher close to where they were storing flammable liquids. Again, Choate Construction, the general contractor for this building with the scaffolding collapse. Sean, back to you.
Our Emma Wright with WNCN Investigates. Emma, thank you for that deeper look into all this. We have team coverage throughout the afternoon. We'll join you again with latest information as we get it. For now, we're going to send it back to a regularly scheduled program. But just to reiterate, 3 people dead after this morning a scaffolding collapsed in downtown Raleigh. Again, you can join us here with the latest or WNCN.com. For now, we'll send it back to your programming.
Live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 7.
Heard a loud boom and a huge dust cloud kicked up. Immediately ran outside.
Right now at 7, 3 people are dead and another seriously hurt after a scaffolding collapsed in downtown Raleigh. Good evening, I'm Sean Maroney. Thanks for joining us. It happened just before 11 this morning at the Charter Square building on Fayetteville Street. Police released the 911 calls just a short time ago, and you can hear just how shaken up those workers were.
I just saw the mass timer fell off. There were men working on top of it.
Tonight we have team coverage of the accident. We start with WNCN's Steve Spraja for exactly what happened. Steve?
Well, Sean, the accident happened in this building behind me, outside the building behind me, just after 11 o'clock this morning, but it wasn't until late after 4:30 this afternoon that the bodies of the victims were finally entangled from the wreckage and taken away. Those victims now identified as 41-year-old Jose Hernandez, 33-year-old Jose Lopez Ramirez, 33-year-old Anderson Almeida, and 53-year-old Elma Gravera. Gravera now fights for his life at the hospital after being thrown to the ground and landing in a porta potty. Take a look at the scene here right now. You can see at about the 5th floor level, a portion of the track for that mast climbing scaffold sticks into a 5th floor window here. It buckled at that point. The bottom of it flew inside the building. The top ended up outside, and pieces of it broke off, flying down into this parking lot here. And when it did, the men plummeted with them, flung to the ground at high velocity. It was a terrible accident, and now everybody is asking why.
The scaffold broke away from the building. You're looking at one there, another one broke away. I don't know. I really don't know.
It happened without warning.
I was working just inside the door where the scaffolding fell. Heard a loud boom and a huge dust cloud kicked up. Immediately ran outside. And
what he and colleagues found was a gut-wrenching scene.
Tried to help 3 of the guys, but had no pulse. There was nothing we could do with those.
The men had fallen from at least 70 feet up when one of the many scaffolding rigs which ring the building let go. A 4th man was also on that rig. He received multiple injuries because of the way he landed.
Me and 2 other gentlemen were helping the one guy we found upside down in a porta-john, and we got a pulse off of him.
Scaffoldings are a normal part of construction work, and the guys on the job here are baffled by this deadly collapse.
I've been in construction 30 years. It's about the worst I've ever seen.
After the accident happened, hundreds of construction workers stood across the street at the nearby Memorial Auditorium, their faces set in grim expressions as they tried to come to terms with what happened. For them, it was
shocking. Kind of, it's like, you know, it's just unbelievable. It was like you just can't believe it.
Everybody who works construction knows the inherent dangers in these kinds of jobs.
They can be very dangerous, and stuff can get overlooked, and all it takes is one little thing and something like that happens. So even if they do follow all the safety protocols, accidents happen, and it's unfortunate, and I'm prayers out to all 4 of those guys.
Multiple agencies investigating. They have since completed their on-scene work, and now what you're looking at is the last remnants of that scaffolding track being picked up and taken away by officials as they continue their work trying to examine what's happening. I want to show you one other thing just before we went on the air. Over here by this light pole and the yellow police tape, 4 simple flowers placed on the ground by somebody for the 4 victims, the 3 who died and the 1 who remains at the hospital fighting for his life. My colleague Derek Waller is at Wake Med Hospital right now. Derek, you have more on that.
Well, Steve, as you mentioned, 53-year-old Elmer Guevara is here at Wake Med after a witness said he broke his fall on a porta potty. We still do not know his condition right now, but a spokesperson for Choate Construction says those workers were using what was called a masked climber style of scaffolding that basically attaches directly to the building. He said they were in the process of dismantling it when the accident happened. Department of Labor inspectors are on the scene starting their investigation, and people who work downtown watch in disbelief.
It's pretty shocking that something like that could just happen so immediately and so in front of everyone.
A Department of Labor spokesman tells me this type of scaffolding may not have required what's called a fall arrest system designed to keep workers from falling because of this specific type of design where the scaffolding is actually attached to the building. I can tell you a company called Associated Scaffolding was subcontracting with Choate Construction. They are not talking tonight, but DOL says that they've got investigators on the scene and they're going to be on the scene for the next couple of months determining whether or not any fines or penalties need to be imposed.
Tonight about the construction companies behind the Charter Square project, as Derek was mentioning. WNCN's Emma Wright joins us in the studio with more. Emma.
We're learning that one of the subcontractors working on the building's scaffolding at the time it fell received a serious OSHA violation just a few years ago. According to OSHA records, Associated Scaffolding Company was fined in 2007 after they did not have proper fall protection for workers on a scaffolding platform. According to their website, Associated Scaffolding has offices in Virginia, Tennessee, and North Carolina, including here in Raleigh and Durham. They build and install scaffolding as well as conduct scaffolding safety training courses. We're told Associated Scaffolding Company is a subcontractor for Choate Construction, who is the general contractor for the Charter Square project. According to their website, Choate Construction employs about 300 people and has offices in Raleigh, Atlanta, Charleston, Savannah, and in Charlotte. WNCN has found that the company has a good record. We found one serious violation. It happened back in 2008 when an employee was crushed and killed during a parking garage collapse in Jacksonville, Florida. According to OSHA records, in 2008, Choate Construction was building a 5-story garage in downtown Jacksonville when the garage collapsed when workers were pouring concrete. One person was killed and 21 others were injured. OSHA says Choate Construction was fined almost $50,000 for that accident. Choate Construction was also cited for a minor violation in Raleigh last year. Also, according to OSHA records, the company violated city code by not having fire extinguishers near flammable liquids. OSHA has not said what, if any, violations they will be issuing because of this scaffolding collapse. Sean.
All right, Emma Wright, putting the safety in perspective. Emma, thank you. And the company released the following statement in response to the incident, saying, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the loss of life and injuries suffered during this incident. We request your thoughts and prayers at this time." The company says it has already launched a full investigation into what caused today's tragedy. Our WNCN WeatherBug camera from Shaw University is focused on this area of downtown Raleigh. Chief Meteorologist Wes Hohenstein, he's in the studio with me. And Wes, what did our camera capture?
Well, we don't have non-stop video. What we do is we time-lapse this area all the time. You guys are very familiar with this. We see shots like this throughout the year, beautiful sunsets of the downtown skyline. I want to take you to a live shot, though. We've since zoomed in. This is a different angle than what Steve just showed you. Here we are about the 5th floor. You can see it's still sticking out, that part of the scaffolding. But look, they're all around the building. They act as tracks for the scaffolding that go up and down, kind of like elevators. And as far as milestones go for the construction process, this weekend was a big one. You know that big red anchored crane that's been there throughout the process? That was removed. Here we are Saturday afternoon. They use another crane to take it down. That continued yesterday, and it was completed yesterday. So we fast forward to this morning. It was business as usual. Winds were about 13 miles an hour. And we've watched throughout the past couple of years, they continue to work when winds are gusting above 40 miles an hour. So I don't think weather and wind was a factor today. Here's the one in question. It's this elevating scaffolding that was near the top just before 10 a.m. We now go to just before 11 a.m. It's dropped down to about the 11th floor. But I want you to look at that little shadow right there, not related to the sun. Something happens as we go to 10:54. It shifts a little. And then finally, we go from this to 10:59, about a minute after it happened, and it's completely gone. We focus in again on that area where the scaffolding scaffolding went into the side of the building, and just a short few minutes after that, we widened out again. You can see EMS on the scene, a lot of activity right around the parking lot that Steve was just talking about. So not non-stop video, but we can see a great story as we look at the time lapse from the last 5 minutes, Sean.
Chief Meteorologist Wes Hohenstein breaking it down the time-sensitive, minute-by-minute, moments before, moments after the accident. Wes, thank you. We'll continue to follow this story throughout the evening. We'll have the latest tonight at 11, and as always, online at WNCN.com. You can also get it on the go by downloading our news app. Just search WNCN.
Live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 11.
I just saw the mass timer fell off. There were men working on top of it.
Panic earlier today, turning to sadness tonight after a deadly scaffolding collapse shut down part of downtown Raleigh. Good evening, I'm Sean Maroney. Thanks for joining us. 3 people are dead and another recovering tonight after that tragic accident. It happened just before 11 this morning at the Charter Square building on Fayetteville Street. Rescue crews were on the scene within minutes, finding mangled metal and a gash in the window 5 stories high on the building. Witnesses say the men may have fallen from more than 200 feet up. Many were shaken after what they saw.
The scaffold broke away from the building. You're looking at one there, another one broke away. I don't know. I really don't know.
We now know the names of the victims killed and injured in the accident. They are 41-year-old Jose Erasmo Hernandez of Durham, 33-year-old Jose Luis Lopez Ramirez of Clinton, and 33-year-old Anderson Almeida of Durham. And we're learning more about the 4th worker who survived the fall, 53-year-old Elmer Guevara of Durham. Our Derek Waller is live from the scene. And Derek, you just got back from Durham where you spoke with one of his family members.
Sean, that's correct, and I can tell you that Guevara is listed in fair condition at Wake Med. Tonight, we've also learned that he was an employee of Associated Scaffolding. That is the company that was charged with taking down this scaffolding that is on the side of this building. Of course, today, tragically, some of that came crashing down.
I've been in construction 30 years. It's about the worst I've ever seen.
A horrifying scene that State Department of Labor investigators have now taken over, trying to find out how a routinely used piece of scaffolding suddenly came crashing down.
I won't forget it for a really long time.
Peter Thuston is another construction worker who saw the men fall and tried to help.
Immediately ran outside. Tried to help 3 of the guys, but had no pulse. There was nothing we could do with those.
Tonight we stopped by the Durham home of the accident's sole survivor, Elmer Guevara. Off camera, a family member confirmed he worked for Associated Scaffolding and that a porta potty broke his fall, possibly saving his life. A Choke Construction spokesman tells me those construction workers were trying to take down scaffolding that was attached to those metal masts you see that are rigged to the side of the building. A State Department of Labor spokesman says that so-called mast climber style of scaffolding does not necessarily require workers to wear additional safety harnesses to keep them from falling. But investigators will look at everything.
We have a host of investigators that are here on the scene that are taking statements, doing all the necessary and requisite investigative follow-up.
Now, fellow construction workers are left stunned as everyone asks why.
They can be very dangerous and stuff can get overlooked, and all it takes is one little thing and something like that happens. So even if they do follow all the safety protocols, accidents happen.
And that investigation is just getting underway. I'm told that Department of Labor investigators could be out here for the next couple of months as they decide whether to impose any fines or penalties. Sean?
All right, our Derek Waller starting us off tonight with our team coverage. Derek reporting live in downtown Raleigh. Derek, thank you. And we want to show you another angle of that area. This map highlights what's around Charter Square, a busy and growing area with One Bank of America Plaza and Marriott City Center, as well as a couple of parking lots. And again, our complete coverage of the collapse, including more interviews, videos, as well as photos, right now on WNCN.com. It's in our top stories section. Also, you can wake up with us tomorrow morning for WNCN Today for the latest, beginning at 5 a.m.